your cooperation. We have no microphones here today, so we're all going to need to project, but did want to go ahead and get started to give us the most time for both the candidates to speak and for us to get the information that we've come for today. Thank you for coming out. I am April Armstrong, and I have the pleasure of currently serving as the president of the Ada Business Association. We're really pleased to put this on, and we did so in the spirit of providing both access and information regarding those that are interested in serving in our local government and those who are currently serving in our local government. So thank you for coming. Thank you, candidates, for coming out and making your time available to this event. I'm going to turn it over now to Mark Willis, a board member of the Ada Business Association, and he's going to talk more about the format for today's meeting.
Good afternoon. I'm Mark Willis. The format's going to be really easy. We're going to go 1-minute introductions and explain why you're seeking the position. And then after that, we'll be asking questions. The questions are going to be limited to 1-minute answers. 45 seconds, we'll have a yellow indicator over here. And then 1 minute will be a red indicator. We'll tell you to stop. Candidates may not pose questions to others on the panel. All campaign materials are placed up front. If you do have a question, please, there's cards on each of the tables, and fill them out with the pencils, and then if you just put them in the air, and I'll come around and pick them up, and we'll go through them. Not all questions will be asked because of the limited time. The intention of the Ada Business Association of hosting this event is to provide access and information regarding those who wish to serve. I'd like to introduce and thank Peter Ross, the senior reporter at WZZM, and we'll get started. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, thanks again for coming, everybody. Hope this will be useful for you. I'm sure it will be for all the voters here. So, we, as you know, have an unopposed clerk, Susan Burton. We have candidate for supervisor, the incumbent George Haga, and challenger John Westrup. We have the treasurer Norm Rhodes, the incumbent, being challenged by Art Kroon and Brandon Holmes, and our trustees Robert Cruz, Jackie Smith, Paul LeBlanc is absent, and challengers William Wood and Catherine Jacobs. So we've got a full slate. We need to move right through it. Let's start with the supervisor positions, please. And each candidate will have a minute introduction, and then we'll get into questions. Alphabetically, Supervisor Haga, why don't you start from?
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank the Ada Business Association for organizing this particular forum. I recall 4 years ago we had a similar type of forum, and so I'm pleased to see it come forward. I've enjoyed being your township supervisor for the past 23.5 years, and again look forward to being your supervisor in the next term. We've progressed in our township with many projects, including trails, and we finally got which is an MDOT project, the M21 project completed, the bridge project completed. We look forward to continuing to improve areas in the village proper through the charrette plan that's in place. And I think, as most of us do, we all do love Ada, and I look forward to your support for the next term. Thank you.
Trustee John Westrup, why would you like to be a supervisor?
Well, I'll actually start by saying that I never had the aspiration to be supervisor. I was very content to be a trustee of the community and represent the people. I've done that for the past 7.5 years. Prior to that, I was president of the Ada Commons Association for 4 years, and prior to that, many of your children and grandchildren may have experienced me as a volunteer AYSO and YMCA soccer coach. It was during my time as Ada Commons president that I noticed one of the first things that I saw that we could improve in Ada, and that was the vast majority majority of the people who live in Ada actually live west of the village and south of M21. At that time, they all had a Grand Rapids 49546 zip code. They were not part of Ada. I personally went out, did the research, discovered that there were some significant differences in terms of insurance premiums, and home valuations, and how people perceived the area between those two zip codes, got that zip code changed. Since then, I have been in a leadership role doing a number of things. I'm glad that my opponent mentioned the charrette. I actually took my time to go to Portland, Oregon, to the National Charrette Institute to become certified as a charrette planner and facilitator, and brought that back, and that's why that charrette happened. If I am elected supervisor, I promise that that charrette will come off the shelf, and like so many other things, we will work to complete projects on time, lean, accountable, and transparent local government. Thank you.
And I also want to remind you that I believe there's cards on your tables, because we are interested in hearing your questions for these candidates. Please write them down, and you'll be collecting them, and hopefully we'll be getting to them. Let's move next to the opening statements for the, Clerk Burke. Unopposed, but she certainly has the right to let us know why she would like to continue in that position. Clerk Susan Burke.
Thank you. I've been the clerk in Ada Township now for one term. In 2008, I was elected. And I'm really fortunate enough, I feel very fortunate not to have a contender for this election. But I still would like to say a couple things, however brief. And because I take my job as a clerk seriously, and I really love this community, I hate to see it brought up in the news in a negative fashion. And I would just implore candidates to stick to the facts and not sensationalize things that aren't necessarily true. And because I do run into people all the time, not just residents in Ada, but friends and acquaintances outside of Ada, they come and they say things like, wow, Ada's really in trouble now, and that sort of thing. And that does nothing but hurt us in the long run. I think we've got a wonderful board right now, and we have to do everything we can to keep everything positive.
Thank you. We're going to move next to the treasurer position, and we have three candidates: the incumbent Norm Rose, Art Kroon, and Brandon Holmes. We will allow the incumbent treasurer Norm Rose to begin.
Hi, thank you for being here today. I'd like to continue being your treasurer. Back in 1992, I was elected as trustee and served in that capacity until 2004. And in 2008, I was elected as your treasurer. I've been a resident of Ada Township for 64 years, and I'd like to continue being on your planning commission, which I was on from 92 to 98, and from 2008 I was elected until present. I served on several committees, all through the 20 years that I've been associated with the township. And with your vote on August 7th, I'd like to serve Ada Township for another 4 years, so thank you for your support.
Mr. Kroon?
I'm Art Kroon. I'm a certified public accountant, and I'm in the current position of treasurer of Ada Township. I began my career in public accounting in 1978, and been a certified public accountant since 1985. And in 1991, I opened my own practice. I'm hoping that I can use my experience as a certified public accountant to assist the board of Ada Township in adhering to implementing and adhering to the policies and procedures that the Township Board has passed. At this point in time, we have some issues in the financial statements that need to be addressed, and I think I'm the person to address those issues. And I think we can get those issues resolved, and I think we can do it using the current personnel and less time than it's taking right now to do that job. Thank you very much for coming today. We appreciate it. It's encouraging to see everybody here.
Brandon Holmes.
I'd like to thank the Ada Business Association lot of people don't know who I am. I'm relatively new to the community. I've been here about 7 years. The community is really important to me. I really enjoy it here. I like all the people that I've met along the way. So much so that I joined the fire department about 1.5 years ago. And that's just been wonderful for me. And then through the process, I've met a lot of other people. I'm just now starting to meet people in the township, and I'm looking forward to playing a bigger role in this community. It is so important that everyone here myself. And I'm a citizen first, a politician second. I'd really like to speak for the people here when they have something that they like to express. I'd like to be there to stand up for them. So that's part of the conference. I'd like to thank everyone for your time.
We'll hear from the trustee candidates. I should note that Paul LeBlanc, current trustee, could not join us today. We have 4, and let's go in alphabetical order. And in that regard, we'll be starting with Catherine Jacobs.
Thank you. I'm Catherine Jacobs, and I just want to tell you how important Ada is to me. My husband and I moved here with our children about 9 years ago, and we came from the east side of the state, and our families are both there. And when we moved here, I said to him, 2 years, and then we're going back. And about 3 years into staying here, he was offered a position back in Detroit, and I said, no way, I'm not going. I love it here. Our kids love it here. We have 4 children, all of whom attend Forest Hills Public Schools. And in fact, my husband had to take a job back in Detroit about 1.5 years ago, and he has been commuting ever since. And so this is how much our family loves Ada. We're willing to make that sacrifice. As I said, I do have 4 children. I'm a member of St. Robert's Church. I'm on the Planning Commission. I'm also a Rotarian. I volunteer in a lot of community activities, and my law firm, Charles Jacobs, is in Ada. Thanks.
Next, Mr. Bruce.
Thank you,
Trustee
Peter.
Robert.
Okay, first of all, corrections, pros. We'll get back next time. I have been blessed to be a trustee for the last 7.5, going on 8 years. And I believe I've offered quite a bit to the community. Number one, I'm a businessman, started my own business in 1984. We're now up to over 90 employees. So I know what it is to have a lot of money, and I know what it is to have no money. I also know what it is to have common sense. I have been blessed, I believe, with understanding what it is to be an ordinary citizen in a tight economy. I believe I'm proven the fact that I can take a stance. I don't waver. I don't change for the way the wind blows. And I believe that I have a lot to offer for the business, the residents, and the community. And I look forward to serving for that additional. Thank you.
Jackie Smith.
You got the name pronounced right.
How about
I'd like to thank you
Trustee Jackie Smith.
for this forum. I've lived in Ada for 23 years. I've just completing my first term on the board. Was active in committees and things before that as well. So I've been active for a long time. I have enjoyed and considered it an honor to represent the citizens of Ada on the board. I think we have accomplished a lot in the last 4 years. Done a lot of big projects, and Supervisor Bayer referred to the bridge as a major one. The initial proposal for that was to close that bridge during construction, and through a lot of cooperation and things this board accomplished keeping that open. And there are many more things that we have, a lot of things facing us in the future. I think I come prepared for every meeting, I research and prepare. I think I bring a common sense and reasonableness also to the board.
And candidate Bill Wood.
Thank you. I've been out here 48 years. I served a term as a trustee from 2000 to 2004. Then I challenged George twice, and unfortunately I finished second each time. So I gave that idea up, and I'll settle the trustee again if I can get elected for that. Because it's a very interesting job. I'm retired. I'm giving my full attention as I did before. And I spend as much time as I need to research whatever's going on. I look for things that can be improved. The change in the highway out here, maybe not everybody's cup of tea, but I've got a letter from MDOT that says it reduced the accidents at an intersection by 78%. Things like that are what I'd like to make happen.
All right, we'll just get into some questions now. Again, reminder, if you have others that have been sparked by the discussion, don't hesitate to fill out a card, and we'll try to get to them. For the supervisor candidates, what do you feel you could best accomplish if elected or re-elected, and we'll start again with Mr. Haga, to improve the business climate?
Obviously, the business, the district, and the businesses in our community are a very important part of the community. And I think we need to look with the support of our downtown development authority to improve the business climate from the standpoint of bringing in new businesses, filling the vacant supply that we have in the community, and continue to work with the Business Association in coming to that result.
It's a great question. As somebody who has run and owned businesses, I understand a little bit about business. I've been involved in sales and marketing, so a lot of this speaks to those skills. First of all, I'd like to see us actually have gateway signage in the community. When you drive into Ada Township from any direction, you do not know that you're in Ada Township. Let's get some signs welcoming the people with our logo and saying, a great place, Ada Township, a great place to live, work, and play, the website address, maybe even home, Amway corporate headquarters, and have them pay for it. Let's get the DDA and the township and the Forest Hills Public Schools to collaborate on a web portal where people can go to, whether it's I Love Ada or WeLoveAda.com, one place to find out everything they need to know to make them want to move their business here. And then let's make sure and welcome every single business before they move in and after they move in, as well as residents, with a packet of information that tells them how they can do their best here in the township. Those are just a few of the specific ideas that I have.
For the treasurer candidates, some have raised the question of whether the position should remain full-time or part-time. What do you think about that? What impact would it have on the office and the community? Treasurer Rhodes?
I've known treasurers that, from going to my different meetings that are part-time, and also they have full-time treasurers. There's a lot of other things to do besides relying on your deputy to run your office, that you need to do, reports that you need to do. And so to say that we could cut back to a part-time position, I guess that you'd have to wait and see if that was something that someone could do. There's surrounding townships that do have a part-time treasurer, and I don't know, I've never spoken to them directly about if they have additional help. I know one has a couple of, has 2 people in their office, and maybe that's where some of that work is being, that the treasurer does that I do, is given to another person to do or accomplish, and so the treasurer only has to be there part-time. So I feel that's a full-time position.
Mr. Crowe?
It's probably a part-time position at this point in time. Whether it becomes full-time will depend upon the staff and how the staff is managed. I feel that we have a qualified staff, and I feel they're doing their best. And I also feel that a little bit of assistance we can improve and the tasks that are being done. We can see that the policies and procedures that are put in place by the Board of Trustees are actually adhered to. So I would look at it from the standpoint that it will all be a part-time position. I have the experience as a certified audit accountant to do my best to see that we do make that a part-time position if that's what's needed. If it's a full-time position in the beginning, I think it will be, but eventually we will phase it down to part-time.
Mr. Hall?
I thought about this there requires it to be part-time. I'm not opposed to that.
All right, for the trustees, and in the alphabetical order that we resume, why don't we just continue that? If you were elected or re-elected, what would be a priority of yours to improve the business climate in Ada?
One of the things I think we need to do is to have DDA become a stronger body. They, in the past, haven't had necessarily the funds to commit to a strong downtown development. I think we have so many resources in this community. We have huge corporations. We have huge support from our small business owners that we can come up with a plan that could really vitalize the downtown and make it what we want it to be and continue to make it strong.
Before I go any further, some folks have reported not being able to hear all the responses as well, so just try to pretend that you're a broadcaster and speak up. Please. No problem.
And gosh, for me, Ada business is important. Over the last 7-8 years, getting a DDA formed, being in favor of that, working with individuals to make it a reality is a good first step. We do need to improve our identity. How do we improve our identity? By letting people know that we exist. How do you do that? We've been doing it, I think, pretty well with such tasks as the farmers market, the 4th of July, holding it here in the village as we are. I think having the different bicycle events and the other events in Ada, Arts in Ada, is all things of ways to identify what business is even there. I do agree we do need to continue to work to improve the business climate, but the best thing we can do is be open to suggestions and listen as a board to make sure that we're there and responsive.
Thank you. Very, very fortunate in Ada to have a mixture of very large businesses and small businesses as well. We have a DDA, we have an active DDA, even though it's young. We have an active business association, and I think continued collaboration between all is the best way.
I think the least regulations you put down is the easiest way to get business. I believe in government's least, government's best. When I got on the board, I learned that we give our ordinances manufactured in Tallahassee, Florida. I didn't think that was necessary. I went to the Municipal Code Corporation one day, and I was very warmly received. But these people sit down there and they decide to make up rules, and they publish them, and then townships buy them wholesale. I don't think we should do it that way. I think we shouldn't have a regulation that isn't made to take what our needs are, and we shouldn't have any extras. We've got a code book very thick, and I think that needed weeding out one of these days. There's so many things in there that some of the enforcers don't know what they're themselves.
For our clerk burden, there have been many opportunities where the township and local business community have worked together to execute events like Forest Hills Expo, Tinsel Treats in Crawley, 4th of July, August in Ada. How do you view the importance of these events, and what support do you intend for these in the years ahead?
Well, these events are extremely important. As the candidates have been mentioning, it kind of puts Ada on the map, and I think in the last 4 years we've made great strides in that effort, and the business community has been integral in planning and holding those events. And they've done a beautiful job. I would like to see the township still continue and become more of a major role player in those events and be open to any kinds of future events that you may desire that may come up.
For the supervisor candidates, Mr. Hager, Mr. Westbrook, if elected, this is from our crowd, if elected, will you perform only as township supervisor, or will you also be the director of public utilities?
The situation there is the two functions. One is an elected function, one is a appointed function, and is appointed by the township board. At this point in time, I, as the current supervisor and utility director, do anticipate to maintain both positions unless the board decides.
My intention is to be the best supervisor that Ada Township can have. I believe the role of utility director is one that can be easily outsourced to those most capable of doing that, those who are licensed and focus on that as their business. We already have a supplier of wastewater management and water systems in the township. They may very well be able to take on that role or another qualified bidder. It's important to note that I actually did research this extensively and brought a number of qualified bidders to the board prior to this being put out for bid before. And one of those bidders that was qualified to both do the maintenance as well as the management was actually rejected because they were, quote, not asked to provide those additional services. Definitely, I will be the best supervisor that Ada can have. I will not be its utility director.
For the supervisor candidates from the crowd, the question is, how much should Ada grow in its population? And should we market Ada Township as the place to live in the metro area?
That is precarious because certainly growth is important to maintaining tax base and to maintain a vibrant community. So certainly we want people to continue to want to live at Ada. Do we want this to become a metropolis where every part of our township is developed? I don't think so. I think in the last survey, people overwhelmingly like the green space that we have and are done with quote-unquote bigger developments. So I think that while we want to maintain a steady growth, we want to also maintain the character that we have now based on what the community has said.
Well, for myself, I've often heard, who will be the last one to turn out the lights when Michigan leaves? We are a community that needs to grow and develop. Do we need to grow in double-digit increases? Probably not. But we don't want big boxes here either. But we do need to grow. We need to have businesses that are vibrant and growing. We need to have sustainable growth. We do need to advertise Ada as a place to live. There's several reasons. Number one, we've got still a declining tax base that we got to maintain because, I don't know, my record kind of goes forth that I'm not one for wanting to raise taxes. We have enough burdens in our lives. I think the most important thing that we can do is continue to grow as a community, keeping our tax base strong and keeping our businesses strong as well.
It is a great place to live. There is room for growth. We need to manage that growth in a smart way. We have purchased open space. There is about 1,000 open space in Ada. But we do need to manage the growth in a good way.
For our treasurer candidates from our crowd. I'm sorry. Thank you. Mr. Wood. Thank you.
Well, I was a builder for 17 years. I helped build a lot of houses out here. And so from that standpoint, my interest would be to have more houses built, so more people in construction. We've got a lot of land out here, and we've got a variety. The town is zoned from one side to the other. There's small parcels, big parcels, very big parcels. You get what you want out here. You've got a lot of people that want to come here. They have to come with money from someplace else to build. And right now, the building business is so flat. I don't see much growth right now.
And now for the treasurer candidates from our crowd. With the recent auditor's finding of over $300,000 of Ada Township funds not properly filed, the second time in 2 years. How would you correct this accounting error? Mr. Rhodes?
Well, number one,
We start with Mr. Rhodes.
First of all, the accountants made the comment to us, and I checked, and there was 3 entries in our general ledger that were made in May that were accrued back into the last fiscal year that amounted to a good portion of that money. So that makes it look a little bit skewed. But in the meantime, I found that I had 3 people come forward and offer me some help. I know I'm not a CPA. My background has always been was for 38 years as an engineer, so I'm still learning my job. And I had a CPA come forward with a banker and also an ex-auditor from another city that has offered their help to me to be able to reconcile the monthly or the general ledger between the bank. The bank account has never been a problem. We've always had the money, it's always accounted for every month. So it's a matter of comparing the general ledger entries against the bank account.
Mr. President, you're specifically referring to the $300,000 deficiency?
Correct. That's what the question was.
Number one, 2012 audit report has not been issued yet. And so those findings are premature. I do think that if they are in fact repeat findings, then we need to address with the staff how we're going to why aren't we complying with the policies and procedures that the Ada Board of Trustees have established and reconciling the bank accounts and the fund balance accounts every month. That's a simple task. And we have the software to do it. We don't want to be in a position like Three Oaks was about 4 years ago, 5 years ago, when the bank accounts had been reconciled for several years. It's payday and payroll checks are bouncing. We do not want to put ourselves in that position. We want to address these issues now. The board has set forth all these internal control procedures, and it's imperative that they be followed.
Sir?
I've owned and managed several businesses in the past and done a lot of accounting. I've had a lot of accounting issues that we've had to get corrected. And I wasn't completely aware of everything until the story came out. I knew that there was a small issue. I know that the money's there, so that's not a horrible thing. I'm glad it's there. It's just a matter of getting it in the correct spot. I think Rose has done a good job with everything, and I think if outside help is something I know that was stated that they needed a CPA in there. Sometimes that's what you need to get the job done. I'm not opposed to that at all, so I think that that's what's needed. And sometimes just to get the error corrected, that's fine. I mean, once it's corrected, I think it's just it's an easy process.
For our supervisor candidates, when do you feel the growth of Ada and its demands will merit the need for a full-time supervisor position? Mr. Hager?
Obviously, it depends on the growth and the needs and the desires of the community and of course the funds obviously have to be available. I don't believe we're at that point at this particular time, but that should be reviewed perhaps on an annual basis or at least on a 2-year basis when we have our compensation commission review the activities of all of our elected officials.
Mr. Westbrook?
I think the first question is how much time does it take to manage our community? I've asked that question on a number of occasions. I have not gotten a good answer. No one within the township currently keeps their time per se and allocates that against various projects and things that they're doing. That is something that as your next supervisor, I promise you I will do. I will keep track of my time. In fact, that's the first thing I'm going to do is find out exactly how much time it takes to actually effectively manage the duties of supervisor. The statutory duties of supervisor per Michigan law are very, very small. The rest of the duties must be assigned to that individual by the board. We do not have a track record or a history of seeing where those things have been done. Instead, additional duties have just been assumed. I think we need to get back to the basics and ask the specific question, when we have documented that we have enough work to justify a full-time position, then we're going to go to the board and say, here's the justification, you need to take appropriate action.
For the township trustee candidates, question from the Business Association leadership. Several West Michigan townships have added a local bidder preference clause in their purchasing policies to promote using local businesses. What are your thoughts about using a local bidder preference here in Ada Township? Ms. Jacobs?
I do like the idea of a local bidder process. I am a local business owner here, and I truly support as much as I can every business. I always like to go local before I go out of the community. So I think that we need to have open bidding, obviously, but we also need to look at our local community and support that to make it grow. We all talk about wanting growth in this community, wanting more businesses, wanting our businesses to be vibrant. One way to help that is to have a local preference.
Interesting question. In a bid process, if you are a local company, typically you would have local advantages, less travel, less expenses, the ability to perform the work at a lower cost, which would inherently give you an advantage to submit and win a proposal. When we put together a bid package, which was on a committee that helped put together our purchasing policy, it was important to have a policy that was equal and unified across the board. The biggest advantage that we do have is if it's an Ada resident, it should be a cheaper bid. I'm more in favor of doing what's best for the entire community. Hopefully, Ada business people will hear that their bid is best because it would be easier and more profitable to win that bid.
There are many factors that go into a bidding process, and local business is one of those. Cost is one, experience is another. There are many, and I think we need to look at all of those factors. I would like to give preference to local bidders, and I think that many times we do. We've had a couple instances recently where not a lot of cost difference, but where we have gone with a local bidder because of
What?
I'm for a level playing field that would work out, write the specifications for the work, don't let the bidder write the specs. That happened here, and that's not good. And if the low bidder is ours, fine, but if the low bidder is not ours, I think the idea of bidding should be that all bidders are welcome and you're playing on a level field, not somebody's handicap.
Clerk Burton, earlier you referenced sticking to the facts. What concerns do you have about comments that have been made that you feel are not factual?
There have been comments made during this campaign, specifically I'm referring to the audit report, where taken out of context, it sounds to somebody who doesn't know really what's going on that things have gone seriously awry. And those are the sort of statements that are not doing this township or its individuals any good. Did I answer the question?
Sure. Part of this is my own education. I must admit I don't follow the Ada Township Board as closely as I should, but I'm happy to learn more. Candidate Supervisor Haga, what about that? Do you feel that there have been misstatements of fact made regarding township business of late?
I believe there have been, and as alluded to, the audit provided, I think, a very negative name for Ada Township. From the standpoint, I received a number of calls that the township was missing the $300,000. And I don't think, however, or I believe that however that got out, I think was totally inappropriate because the issue is serious. I'm not belittling the issue, but the issue was not to that extreme, and I think that person township.
And Candidate Westbrook, does this discussion hurt the township?
I think accountability and transparency are always best practice. I think when we hide things under the rug, when we dismiss them as insignificant, that's when we leave the door open for things that we don't want in our community. And as the person who brought these issues to light, first of all, let me say that the current auditor who discovered those errors is actually somebody who has endorsed me in the past, and my efforts to make the accounting portion of township government transparent and accessible to the people. I think if you make a mistake, you need to own up to it. I think you need to make sure all of you and all citizens of Ada need to hold all of your leadership fully accountable for the affairs of yours. Because at the end of the day, it is every dime is your money, not ours.
For the trustee candidates, do you see any way that service sharing with other communities or the county, be it police, fire, or for that matter, any other service could be enhanced more than it already is? Ms. Jacobs?
There's always that opportunity. Right now, we do share services. For example, our building inspectors are through Cascade Township, and certainly that helps out bottom line budget. And I think that, as communities grow and change, especially in the economic climate that Michigan has currently, there's always ways to look at our budgeting. I don't think that police and fire sharing necessarily any more than we do right now in the county. I think that's not necessarily a place where we need to go at this time. We always like to look at the budget every year.
Interesting question. We have looked over the last, I believe we met 3 or 4 different times with both Cascade and Grand Rapids Township, possibly condensing fire department sharing, that type of thing. And what it proved out at the end of the day, it may be a better deal, but it might not improve. It might be a better deal for the other communities, but for Ada, it's going to really cost us. It would cost us response time. It would cost us in true dollars and cents. And of course, we have to be wise in everything we do. If there's an opportunity to share information, great. But in this particular case, it was absolutely what it cost us 4 to 5 times as much to have a lesser service. So we just need to be wise when we deal with other communities because we're unique in our own situation and our own needs.
I think it's a great idea to cost share with other municipalities. I think we've done some of that. We've researched other things. Trustee Rose mentioned the fire department, and we did check into that. It did not turn out to be the best deal. I think we need to have an open mind and pursue those opportunities.
And Mr. Wood?
The bordering townships are not alike with Ada in any direction. Canada is more rural, Virginia is much more rural, Cascade is much more urban. The sizes don't match. And we have tried some of this already with the East Precinct Sheriff's Department. And the fire departments do work across the lines with each other very well right now. I think we are state of the art with that work.
And why not hear from the supervisor candidates the same question? Coordination of resources with neighboring township, if elected or re-elected, do you see any ways to enhance coordination of services with other nearby municipalities? Mr. Hagan?
I believe it's very important to work with neighboring townships. I believe we have a very positive relationship with Cascade and Grand Rapids townships. I think we work well together in the most recent issue or area that we worked on was related to the fire department, and as Trustee Pros indicated, that didn't work out because of the cost situation. But that doesn't mean we discontinue that kind of discussion, even to the extent of other neighboring townships. I think we need to all work together to the benefit of our communities and our constituents.
Mr. Westbrook? Collaboration is a watchword for myself. I've worked in collaborative environments for years and years. I think anytime that you can work with someone else who potentially has more expertise than you do, or can deliver a service for a better value, that's absolutely something you want to explore. Right now, as been mentioned, we have a relationship with Ada Township where they do our building inspection. I would love to have us have the type of skill set, perhaps our planning department, where we have such an excellent planning department, we may have more time in that planning department than we have work to do, that we can go to these other communities and say, hey, look, we've got fabulous planning expertise. Why don't you use us as your resource? So I think there are a lot of opportunities for collaboration, and as your next supervisor, I will pursue all of them.
For the treasurer candidates, if elected or re-elected, what would be your top priority in the year ahead? Treasurer Ross?
To continue to keep our money in the banks in a safe, banks with a safe bank. There are banks out there that are offering higher percentage rates, as we all know. You can go and get a 1.5% interest on some of your money, but the bank rate is very low, and it's federally insured, but you also don't want to have that be bought out by someone else. Unfortunately, it still happens. So my goal is to make sure that our money is safe with the bank that we have. I've changed banks since we took office and saved the taxpayers by having no annual fees. They increased our interest rate from 0.05 to 0.5, and we don't have to keep any minimum daily balance as we did in the previous bank that we used. So that's my main goal, to make sure that our money is safe and your money is safe. Until that's where you
Mr. Crowe?
My initial focus is going to be to clear up these material weakness statements that auditing firm of State Free Manual has presented. The first one here is a serious one. We consider the following deficiencies to be material weaknesses. Policies and procedures over monthly bank reconciliations are not effective because necessary adjustments to the corresponding general ledger cash accounts are not identified and recorded. This is a repeat finding. That means it's been going on for more than 2 years. I don't say that there's anybody in the staff, township staff, that's not trustworthy. I just think it's essential that we adhere to the internal controls that have been put into place by the township board. The other thing is, we're not reconciling these check accounts. We don't know what checks have been approved or unapproved. We don't know if unapproved checks are clearing. We don't know the appropriateness of all of these checks. So we need to do something about it. We need to get our house in order, and we need to get that footnote, or that disclaimer, exception written on. We need to get it out. The second exception is regarding financial statements, and there's 1,240 townships in the state of Michigan, and I think that's probably virtually all of them have the same footnote.
Thank you, sir. We're expired. Mr. Holmes, your top priority?
I agree with Mr. Crew. I think the most important thing is to get that issue handled. Once you have that handled, which sounds like they're really close to getting that taken care of, I think it's just handling it. It's really important. It's a big responsibility. It's a lot of money that we do over here. And I think just making sure that this issue doesn't happen again is the most important. I think another issue where the township can regain some funds is just going after the unpaid taxes. I feel like allow that. I know past businesses I've had to collect unpaid funds, and that's something that we're good at.
For the supervisor candidates, we're hearing talk of concerns over funds and accounting, and to what extent do you share these concerns? How concerned are you? How real a problem are we talking about? Catherine Jacobs?
It's always a problem when there is a question. You have to figure out why this is happening. I just want to clarify, you said supervisor?
I'm sorry, I meant trustees.
Okay.
I meant trustees.
I
but
saw
thank you.
everyone looking at me like,
Sorry.
change roles. Good question, too.
What I heard what we have heard just now from the candidates for treasurer as well as others, there seems to be concerns with audits and monies and financial stability, for lack of a better word. Are you at all concerned with that? Do you think that's as much of an issue as some of the other candidates have intended that it is?
I don't think financial stability is a concern at this point. I think that Ada is a financially stable community. Do I think that there are processes that need to be visited and to be made sure that they're being followed so that we don't have these issues? Absolutely. We need to figure out what happened, we need to correct it, and we need to go forward.
Wow. I was kind of hoping this wouldn't come to me, because I have been on the board for 8 years. And in all 8 years, I have never seen something so blown out of proportion. For showboating, for personal gain, hiring television studios to come in and report things. I'm sorry, yeah, my voice is shaking here, because it was wrong. There is an apology that's owed. There were simple journal entry mistakes. It happens in 8 out of 10 townships. It happens across America. It happens in every business. I have a CPA, and we still get 50 to 60 journal entry mistakes annually. Come on. There's no money taken. We're working together as a community. We're financially strong. We watch your money. We will continue to watch your money. But we are not here to showboat or to cause infighting amongst each other. What happened was wrong. It was ethically, morally wrong, and it was totally for get myself on TV and make it a little better.
I do have some concern. I would like to see us have a perfect audit. I don't remember that ever happening. There have always been adjustments. There have always been something that the auditors find. That's their job, I guess. I agree with Trustee Prose. It has been blown out of proportion. My biggest issue at this point is it's premature. The audit has not been finished. We do not have a report. It's premature.
Mr. Wood?
I was on the board from 2000 to 2004, and we had a very same experience back then. And I recommended that they simply keep a general ledger. I studied accounting at Davenport Institute, the whole ground, a long time ago, but I think 2 and 2 still 4 the same way. And the CPA at that time was BDO, and their man said, Bill is right. Keep a general ledger, you can go back and figure out whatever is wrong with it. But apparently that's not been done yet. That was about 8 years ago. So it's a shame to see this blown out of proportion. It's bad PR.
For the supervisor candidates, someone in our audience says, I was involved with the charrette. At the beginning, John mentioned it coming off the shelf. Why is it on the shelf? Is it on the shelf, Supervisor Hager?
I'm not sure I'd say that it's on the shelf per se. There are many projects in that charrette that would provide village improvements. The part of the major problem is the funding for these projects. There are approximately $6 million worth of projects that are listed in that charrette plan. As a matter of fact, either the next DDA meeting or I think items that are in that charrette plan. So I would not say it's on the shelf per se. It continues to be worked on and looked at.
Mr. Wester?
As the person who brought the charrette to Ada, and who's actually a certified charrette planner and facilitator, that certification that I got on my own dime, I believe that the charrette is on the shelf in the spirit of what a charrette really is. And the spirit of what a charrette is supposed to be is community involvement. It is not a planning process in the classic sense that it's being done by a small committee or a small subgroup of people behind closed doors. It's community driven. Many of you came to the charrette, participated, shared your ideas. We have hundreds, if not thousands, of really bright, articulate, talented people in this community. And that charrette needs to continue to be a living, breathing thing that we have on our website, and we keep people apprised of the projects that we're working on. And everybody knows, all the stakeholders, citizens and stakeholders know exactly where we are, what we hope to accomplish this month, this year, the next 5 years, and going forward. That is taking the charrette off the shelf and moving forward towards a new Ada Township.
Question from our audience to the trustee candidates. Do you think the open space policy should be changed?
I don't think the open space policy should be changed necessarily. We did a survey and most people agree with the open space as it is. I think we need to continue to maintain and develop our open space. We have some open space that is designated, I believe, for things that could happen for development, and if that does happen, that's okay. But I don't think that we should be significantly changing the policy at this time.
I agree. Our open space is not broken. We have a very good group of people that watch for open space. I think they communicate well together. They work with the planning commission well. Not every open space opportunity that comes before the board is selected. We also look for ways that we can select another piece of the property that would be wonderful for the community. Part of Ada's identity is the fact that we have wonderful, rolling, natural plains, natural place to live. It's a great place to live. And the development of our parks in conjunction with our open space has been phenomenal. So I think it's a great place to live, and I believe 100% that we need to keep our open space continuing to grow.
I'm not sure of the intent of the question. I think when our open space was started, we had a very great need for it. Development was booming, we were growing, property was getting eaten up. And I think we did a great thing by having a millage, and we bought a lot of open space already. I think that initial really big push to buy a lot of open space, maybe we've gone beyond that and we can slow down a little, but I think we still need to pursue it. I think it's been doing great. It's worked.
Mr. Wood?
I wouldn't change something right now unless somebody demonstrates a problem with what's in place. Change is always going to be plus on one side for somebody and minus on the other side. And any change you have to analyze first and drive it. Then gain.
Our final question to the supervisor candidates, another whack at the apple of maybe the question most on the minds of people here. Gentlemen, what one thing, if elected or re-elected, could you do to improve the business climate in Ada?
I would continue to work with the major corporation, the businesses in the village proper, and those that are in, all of those that are in that business, in the business district, to make it a thriving operation for all of our businesses. One thing I have a strong feeling about, particularly in the village, that we need to maintain a quality of life for the residential community in the village. But we need to continue to work with all of the stakeholders in the business district.
Mr. Westbrook?
I think we absolutely need a much closer and well-defined relationship between the DEA, the Ada Business Association, all of our businesses, regardless of whether they are ADA members or not, and the township. I mentioned earlier this idea of having a single portal that people can use to find us on the internet and identify places that they can rent for their businesses, places that they can potentially build their businesses in. I think there's a lot of things that we can do to actually be a welcoming and marketer of the community. I make it a point to visit local businesses on a regular basis. Some of my endorsers have commented on that I'm in touch with the businesses in the community. I think that's extremely important for leadership to be in touch and to understand the needs of business and then respond by helping them as a community market the community of Ada as a great place to live, in this case, work, play, and shop.
We have run out of time. Candidates, thank you for your responses and your willingness to serve. Audience, thank you for coming out. Don't forget to vote August 7th.
That's the day to be here.
Okay,
We're all waiting for us. And a couple more thank yous. Brian Silvernail has been recording today's event, and it will be on our website. It's on the info sheet you have. But it's adabusinessassociation.com. So if you know someone who couldn't make it today that would like the information, it will be there. I'd also like to thank Gail, who kind of snuck, I think, back into the kitchen, but she, in Eric's absence here at Redeemer, has been helping set up and making us all comfortable, allowing us to come into Redeemer for the day today. So thank you, Gail. Thank you.
And I'm sure they're all willing to stick around to answer your personal